My decision to study abroad in Oslo, Norway, was heavily influenced by Norway's beautiful mountains and fjords, breathtaking landscapes that I fully intended to take advantage of during my stay. I was warned pre-departure that much of the country would not be accessible for the first part of my stay due to the heavy snow each winter brings and consequent road and transportation closures. I had planned my trip such that I would have about 1 month of summer where most places I wished to go would be accessible. I knew this month would fly by, so I had to narrow down my original list of awesome destinations to just a few. On top of having a bit of a time crunch and wishing to see as much as I could, I had learned my older sister had made the hefty commitment to travel over 4,000 miles to come visit me. I knew she'd be happy exploring anywhere in Norway that I saw fit, but the pressure to come up with a kick-ass trip was definitely on. I decided we would travel to one of the most iconic and visually striking regions of Norway, the Lofoten Islands, which lie above the Arctic Circle. The Lofoten Islands are an archipelago that consists of essentially just mountains protruding straight out of the sea and the small fishing villages surrounding them. They are unlike any mountains I've seen before, jagged and dramatic peaks contrasting starkly against the ocean waters. We would only have 2 nights to explore this awesome place, and we knew we'd be hard-pressed to see all that we wanted. We hadn't made plans to rent a car, and the only bus that ran through the islands circulated a couple times a day, so we were largely going to be hoofing it. It took a plane, a train, and a ferry ride until we finally made it to arguably the most remote place either of us had ever been to. We were tired, and it was only about midday, but as soon as we stepped off the boat, we were instantly floored by the scenery immediately greeting us. It was what I had been waiting for over 5 months. My amazing sister was there with me, the sun was shining, and we were ready for adventure. But the sunlight didn't last. We had read online before traveling that there was a possibility for inclement weather, but we had hoped we would have more time. We had about 3 hours of direct sunlight the first day, and the next 2 days were completely overcast with on and off rain showers throughout. That first night, I was tired and thoroughly disheartened. My sister had come so far to experience Norway's beauty, and the rain and bad visibility were making that impossible. The next day and a half, we tried to make the best of our time on the islands. We attempted summiting a small mountain that would have given a tremendous view of one of the most picturesque fishing villages and surrounding mountains and sea. Unfortunately, we had to turn back when we were 3/4 of the way up, because the strong winds, freezing rain, and concerning amount of water running down the steep, muddy trail made for a dangerous traverse. We spent the rest of our time just walking in the rain along the coastal highway. It was cold, it was dreary, and we were soaked. Yet amazingly, we started enjoying ourselves. Over that 2-day trip, we walked more than 8 miles, mostly while it was raining, but we were able to laugh it off and keep on walking. Our last day, we ended up heading back to our hostel far sooner than we had promised each other we would, in order to catch the last bus. On the bus ride back, something else amazing happened. Our silent Norwegian driver inexplicably stopped the bus when we were at a random point along the highway overlooking the sea. He pointed to the ocean and motioned for us to look out. There were orca whales feeding along the coast, a sight I had hoped for but never in a million years expected to actually see with my own 2 eyes. It wouldn't have happened if the weather hadn't forced us in. I'll never forget it. Throughout our whole trip, my sister remained adamant that she wasn't disappointed or unhappy with the way things had gone. She saw that I was upset by the way the weather had cut short our plans, but assured me that it didn't matter. We had gotten what we came for. We had our adventure, and like most adventures of substance, it involved an unforeseen problem presenting itself to us, and us having to deal with it. One of my biggest realizations over my entire 6 months abroad occurred after just this 2-day trip with my sister. When traveling or adventuring with loved ones, remaining open-minded and positive will ensure you are successful. If you keep things playful and light when able, you're bound to make memories one way or another during your journey. If you can look back on your experience with fondness or humor, or even disbelief, then in my opinion, it was all worthwhile. I didn't get the trip that I had envisioned for my sister and I, but I still had an undeniably kick-ass time. Laughs were had and memories were made. Now, who could argue none of those things were the mark of a truly successful experience?